Welcome back to World of Daydreams. I'm Jack, and today we're building a turf surfer. If you don't need to know how to build one and just want to see it in action, skip to this timestamp. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Alright, so I want to show you a couple of things with this go-kart. This is a $40 marketplace special, and I got what I paid for. So this is the seat, and this is the fuel tank. This guy said, this is where you can hook the brakes up if you want to put brakes on it. Yeah, it's got the disc on there, but there's no caliper. He goes, yeah, my kids were riding it around the yard, so it's fine. It doesn't really need brakes. Yeah, that's safe for children. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that before I tear it apart. It was around this time that I noticed that what the seat and the fuel tank was zip tied to was half of an old car ramp. Let me show you what I've got going on. So, here we are. This thing stripped and upside down on the table. Now I need to move the front axle to about there, so it's about the same wheelbase as the mower. I also need the rear axle to be around the other way. I need the sprocket on this side, because that's the side of the output of the engine I'm going to put on, which is bigger than the little whippersnipper motor that came off it. I also need to change the sprocket. Wow, okay. I have to fix that too. I need to change this sprocket for one that has the right chain pitch for the engine that's going on it. Should probably be something like that, maybe. Or if I wanted to go a bit faster, put one like that on. One like that. Haven't quite worked out how that's going to work, and I was not anticipating there would be that much play. At any rate, I'm trying to decide whether or not I move the front axle back, or the rear axle forward. Trying to decide what's going to be easier, given the mower's got a fairly flat bottom, and this has that kind of kick to it. Maybe I'd be best off moving the rear axle forward. Anyway, watch me as I figure it out.
What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're smiling on top of the world. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. survive forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind. Get on board. We're soaring on top of the world. Get on board.
Okay, so the problem I'm having is the mower isn't symmetrical. So if you have a look here, it's pretty well centered on the chassis there. But back here, it's not. The catcher comes directly out the center of this. The handle comes directly out the center of this, but this is offset to one side. So, which end of the mower do I want to be in the center of the chassis? I think what I've resolved to do is just center the round drum on the chassis and have it overhang the same amount each side, and wherever the rest lands, it lands. I don't know how well that comes across, but that is my conundrum and my solution. Onwards! I didn't capture it very well, but here I'm just cutting the rear bearing hangers off and then shortening the chassis so I can move the rear axle forwards. Well, I'm pretty happy with how well that sits down in there. As you saw, I had to clearance these channels a little bit. It's really obvious from this angle how asymmetrical this mower is. One of these bearing hangers is going to have to sit inside the tub and one outside. I think I may look at moving the handle slightly to the left, as it will be, to try and get it in the center. I don't know if it's going to feel weird when you're riding it, because no one's made one of these before. But that's where we're at the moment. I'm now going to try and get the bearing hangers, clamps, whatever they're called, these things, onto here, something like that, so that the rear axle can sit at the same height as the front. I'll work that out. Once I get that done, we can maybe add a little bit more structure to it and weld it up, or at least tack it into place while we flip it over and work out how that engine will sit on there. Moving on. So I decided the best way to get those bearing hangers mounted to the tube was actually to notch the tube and slide them in and then weld it up, and that way it definitely won't bend. Okay, here's some progress. You can see we got the chassis mocked up in there now. It's not tack welded in, I'm just about to do that. Rear axle is tacked into place. You can get an idea of what a short, fat little thing this is going to be. I think it's going to look pretty cool. Now it's time to tackle the front axle. Now, what I'm going to do is, because that hole is quite a lot bigger than the center bore of the front wheels, I'm going to get some of this. This is go-kart axle, 25 millimeters in diameter. Cut a couple of little sections off that, weld them onto the end of there with some 12 millimeter holes in the end, and then just run a bit of booker rod all the way through, and then I can put some washers and nuts on there to space out the wheels as I need. This is starting to take shape. Onwards. Now, generally speaking, it's bad practice to put bearings on a thread. Ideally, you want to be using a shoulder bolt or a shaft. However, in this application, the front wheels aren't going to be under any load, so it's fine. Now, you might be thinking that this operation would be better performed in a lathe, but there's a very good reason I'm not using a lathe, and that's because I haven't got one. Here I'm just adding a little bevel to the edge of those bushes so the weld has somewhere to live when we weld it onto the frame. So there we have it. This is what it's going to look like. Obviously there's still a little bit of work to do. Get the engine mounted, trim down that front axle. But I think that is a pretty cool, funky looking machine. Okay, so the next step is to try and put some kind of brakes on it. We've got this little brake disc here. Probably I'm going to cut a piece of the old frame and run it straight across between these two tubes, and that'll give me somewhere to put the brake caliper on a bit of plate there, and then also somewhere to mount the engine to, give us a bit more structure there. So, let's get started on that. You can see here the ends of that tube are notched. I had a camera failure and lost the footage of the tube notch during action, but it does make an appearance later. Here I'm modifying the mounting bracket that came with the brake caliper I'm using. It's actually for a motorcycle, so it's designed for a much larger brake disc. Because I've had to cut off one of the two mounting points, I'm drilling and tapping some new threads in it. If you want a cheat code to make sure your bolt holes line up, drill through both pieces together. No measuring and works every time. Okay, so the brake caliper mounting bracket is on. I figure that's a pretty good place for it because it means that as it's slowing down, it's going to be under compression, which means my shitty welds won't get ripped out, in theory. So that's good. Next step is to put an engine on it. Now the main problem with that is this sprocket wants to be there with that cross pin. Problem is that is not enough clearance for a chain. So my options are square that off with a bit of angle, which I don't like. I can try drilling through the axle for a new cross pin there somewhere. Problem with that is that my drill press is a bit on the piss and it won't come out in the middle of the axle at the bottom, which means it won't line up with the other hole. So what I think I'm going to do is get the engine mounted up top in a place where it's comfortable, where it's nicely centered, and then put this where I need to line it up, and then just weld it onto the shaft. That's not the correct way to do it, but this is the option I have to try and get it done quickly and cheaply. I suppose the correct way would be to use an axle with a keyway in it, but this is where we are. So I'll flip it over and see what we can do about putting an engine on it. I was given these slotted stainless plates as leftover from some industrial application. If you want to build some stuff like this, take every advantage of getting slotted material that you can. Cutting slots, particularly small ones, without a mill and cutting them accurately is such a giant pain in the ass. Of course, the simple and easy solution is to use a go-kart engine mount plate that looks like this, but for some reason, go-kart stuff in Australia is weirdly expensive. So here we are making something from scratch. And when you do make something from scratch, measure it properly. So we have the engine mocked up on the mounting plate that I made for it, that you would have just seen. It is sitting on this piece of wood there to try and get it level. And it's sitting up a little bit higher than I would like. There's a fair bit of space under there I think we can use more efficiently. So I'm going to notch the body of the mower to get this square tube to sit down into it. And then I can weld it in place to the body and then add some structure down to this front axle and to the cross beam that we made for the brakes. It is also sitting on top of that for the torque converter. I think I'm going to solve that problem by rotating the engine forward, down at the front, so that when you're using this thing, it's probable that we'll end up doing a permanent wheelie as we're getting pulled along by it and controlling it, which means the engine, if it's tilted forward, will level out. So we're going to give that a go and see what happens.
But if you don't wanna tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart so slow. But if you don't wanna tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Here we go, turning all the wrongs into rights. Here we go, you can take me there tonight. Whoa, this life is all we know. Whoa, I can't stay if you can't let it go. I never really know what's going on. And even when you're next to me, I feel like you were gone. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart so slow.
It's important to always maximize the quality of your welds by painting over them when you're done.
But if you don't wanna tell me now, I guess I'll never know.
I've had this can of machinery grey paint on the shelf for years, and every time I try and use it, it's just so ugly that I can't bring myself to do it. But it was the closest thing I had to the factory paint that comes on this Hurricane. Okay, doing the final fit up, and I've discovered this little slot that I made for the chain isn't quite long enough. When the chain goes to the bottom of the sprocket, it's bent around the body. So I've got to lengthen that a little bit further down. Might just bring it down to that little bolt hole. It's a pretty good place for it, and it'll give me plenty of scope for adjustment there, I think. I've also decided I'm going to try and drill the axle, cross drill it, because welding that sprocket hub on just doesn't sit right with me. It means that it'll be permanently stuck in there. I won't be able to get the axle out. It's just a dodgy way to do it. I'm off for a little bit of sketch, but it still needs to be serviceable, and having it welded permanently in place, just, I didn't like it. So I'm going to try and cross drill it. I think I've figured out how. I'm going to drill through the axle first, then put the sprocket carrier on and put the bolt through the half a hole that I've drilled, and then drill up from the other side. I think that's going to be good enough to at least get a 6mm cross pin through it, and then it's removable and serviceable and so on. All right, let's give that a go. Well, that worked out pretty well, with this chain hard up against the bottom of the sprocket and the engine all the way forward on its sliding mount. The chain doesn't interfere with the body at all. If we take a peek under here, you can see what that looks like. Plenty of clearance. The chain doesn't hit that bar when it's all the way on the sprocket. There's about plenty of clearance. There's enough. I've got some idler pulleys. I can slap one on there if I really need to, but that seems like it's going to work pretty well. So now I can mark where that sprocket wants to be on that shaft. Have a go at cross drilling it. Wish me luck. After staring at this thing for a while, I decided the mix of machinery grey and rust was so ugly I had to redo it. So I whizzed it back with the wire wheel to start again. I'm partial to a bit of rustic patina, but this just looks awful. And it's done. Came up not too bad, I think. I did have to touch up the paint in a couple of places where I scratched it and spilled some fuel on it, but it's not too bad. There's some rust damage down here on this side that I don't care enough to fix. This is really only just a quick and dirty build as a proof of concept. I think I'm going to build a much bigger, much badder one at some point in the future with a motorbike engine or something on it. Have the controls up here, just a motorcycle brake running down to the quad bike caliper that lives under there, and then just a bicycle brake lever for throttle that works down here on this little engine. I'll show you on this side. I had to add a little bit of support here. That tube bent, this wheel moved up and the chain came loose. So I added this little outrigger on here. It's just welded straight onto the mower body. That's a fairly strong part of it, so I think that'll be fine. So yeah, it does have so much torque, the chassis twisted coming off the line. But it should be good now. Next up, test drive. This is the Turf Surfer, and this is my Test Pilot Laurie.
Hello. I'm going to attempt to ride this thing on this thing with this thing.
It'll be fine. There's literally nothing that can go wrong.
Nah. Trying to kill me. Okay.
First thoughts?
Brakes.
Yeah?
Really hard because this will shoot past it. So you got to be like, have your kind of strength into it as well to.
You've got to be really centered on it, otherwise it tries to swap ends on you.
And rigid.
And rigid.
Yeah, but because you want to overtake it then, so you'll start like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think what I just did there is the best way. Unfortunately.
Or you just let it go.
Yeah. So it's either me or this lawnmower getting destroyed. Fun. Easy to turn, I guess, when you get used to it. Yeah, your inventions are something to behold.
Thank you.
I don't know what else to say, man.
I'll take that as a compliment. All right, let's put some cameras on it and have another go.
Alright, I'll see how confident I am. I don't know if we'll do like a final like top speed run, okay? Because that shit before was. This is what was on the Bobcat, yeah? Yeah. The Bobcat, was it, that you called it? Bobcat. Bobcat, yeah. That's the same engine, yeah. Yeah, that coming off the throttle.
Yeah. Slows down a bit.
And I'll try, maybe I have to be like more like this, which feels sketchy as though on a skateboard, because it's just a counteract.
Not that it's a problem, but those tires were spinning when we did that. I could hear them. Ooh.
Really?
Yeah. So if you put a bit of weight on it, you might get a little bit more drive out of it.
I was doing like a burnout.
Yeah, you were doing a rolling burnout.
Alright. Holy bastard. Holy fuck. Holy shit. That's fucking sketch as.
Fun.
There's just this point where you get, it's too much speed. It's like almost speed wobbles, but then you've got something very unsturdy versus something somewhat sturdy.
So it's sturdier than a skateboard.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
I think anything is sturdier than a skateboard. Yeah, I don't know how to describe that. That's I'd like to know what kind of speed I was going. Like, I want to say maybe just under 30 k's.
All right, well, we'll set up the speed app on my phone. We'll put it in your pocket.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Alright, let's get the speedo up down.
Holy shit! I'm thinking I'm going uphill, even though it's
Uphill the way to go.
for the speed for sure. That was fucking sketch, man. Holy shit! I don't even know what it looks like on film. Like, I feel like I'm still going really slow.
Yeah. Like if you... I'll fire it up again and you can see how fast it'll go. It's got more go than you'll need it.
I definitely wasn't going 100%. I felt like maybe when I was just starting to get to that final top speed, that's when it starts getting really sketchy.
Yeah, it starts getting a little bit uncontrollable.
I think that skateboard's not the best as well because it's very tiny, and it's not like the grip on it. It's plastic. You know, the grip tape would have been better if I could get my other skateboard working.
A longboard would be better?
A longboard, way better for sure. almost like it's got power bands. Like it's like comes on, yeah. It doesn't transfer from like what I feel comfortable at to that next level. Alright, let's try. I'll give us another go. I'll try and match. Yeah, I want to crack 20. Hopefully.
Alright.
Fuck, why does it feel so sketch? Yeah, I hope I got that 20, but that is where I'm comfortable at. 18.8.
18.8.
Alright, the starter up. A little bit more chill on the throttle, man.
That feels faster than it looks.
Well, I was jogging with your pace, like jogging.
That is the sketchiest thing. That is the sketchiest thing.
Alright, what were you saying?
So my idea, now this is a fine line because it could go really bad as well.
Yeah.
Having some sort of connection between the two. So you're not kind of doing this push
Yeah,
motion.
it's the disconnect between the mower and the board.
But that being said, some of those times where I had to push myself away, if I was stuck to the mower there,
You'd be on the ground and running.
I would be off over this,
Yeah,
probably on the hot exhaust.
yeah.
So it's a real fine line.
Well, see, the tricky thing is it has to be separate because in Queensland, if you're riding it and it has an engine, it's a vehicle, and then it's an unregistered vehicle. But if it's a self-propelled mower and a skateboard, it's fine. Even if your self-propelled mower will do 50 kilometres an hour or whatever it would have done with someone with absolutely no fear, which is certainly not me.
Maybe slicks at the back.
Slicks at the back.
You were saying that it was slipping.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Handlebars. I think having it more like a bike handlebar,
Yeah.
horizontal, with because I was finding that a lot of it was, I didn't want to put my whole hand here
Yeah.
because with sunscreen as well, it was slippery.
It's a bit slippery. So like a rubber grip would be
A rubber grip, I would recommend maybe the high position as well, closer to your body, so you can really get in on it.
Yeah.
So welding something along here.
And having it wider would give you more leverage over it as well.
Yeah, you do have, it would be easy to turn, yes, I reckon, because
Yeah.
you've got the leverage on the outside.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't really critique it that much because I've never done anything like
Well,
that.
you've given me some really useful information because this is only a proof of concept. I do plan on making a bigger, badder one with a motorbike engine or something on it. So.
I'm not invited. Invite someone else. invite an able-bodied person that day, exactly. And I'll be watching from the sideline.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. With it's got a differential and it's got some better controls and stuff on there. Maybe it won't be so bad.
I think just because you still weigh more than the actual vehicle guiding you, Yeah.
It's very, when you come off this throttle, you want to lightly do it. If you do
Yeah.
it too hard, it basically breaks, you know.
Yeah, it's
Engine
got a lot of
braking.
engine braking with that CVT.
And because you've got the inertia still of being on a skateboard that has no brakes, you just want to overtake it. It's like having
Yeah.
a really heavy trailer with no brakes.
Yeah,
behind
actually,
a
you know
car.
what? Yeah, and you'd get that tail whip as well
Yeah.
while you're riding.
And you literally, like, there's times where I had to push this away and I was still threatened that I would fall off the skateboard because, like, 19 kilometres, it doesn't seem that fast. When you're dismounting from this on a skateboard, I don't care what you say, unless you're a pro downhill skateboarder.
One with a bike engine on it would be heavier as well.
Heavier?
Heavier, and with a bike you can have, I mean, you've got the clutch control as well, so you can reverse the clutch so that
You could
when you
take-
let it out, the clutch goes in and then it freewheels.
And then that would just be a guide, like a glide.
And then it would
basically,
just,
a coast.
a coast, yeah.
And that would be so much better for this, because this is what, like, skateboarding is a lot of coasting between pushing, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a very odd feeling to have to fight that. It's so muggy.
It is so muggy.
It's so hot.
Alright, let's go get a cold drink, eh?
Yeah, too easy.
So that's the Turf Surfer. I think is a quick and dirty proof of concept. It went quite well. I'm not sure if it came across in the video just how much power this thing has, but there's a lot more left on the table. I'll be getting some people together to try and wrangle all of the rippums on a longboard, so keep an eye out for that video. I've put a post-production blog on Patreon. There's a link in the description. That's free. Check that out if you're interested in any of the tech details about this build or my learning to film journey so far. I did learn a lot filming this, not least of which is how poorly lit some of the shots are. I've hatched a plan to correct this for future videos, as well as a fair few other things that could be improved. If you like my video style, give me a thumbs up, and if not, comment below and tell me why. Feedback is always welcome. My next project is made of this ute tray, this diff, and this engine. I promise you won't guess what I'm building. So subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the internet. Thanks for watching. I got this new microphone, made in Poland. If this one doesn't work out, I've got to check one too. Weld it up, or at least tack it into place while we flip it over and work out how that engine. Hey, there we go. How that engine. How that's going to be a problem. So I have to square that off with a bit of angle. Or I've got this mounting plate, engine plate that I've made for it. Jesus Christ, this is a noisy chair. I've put a blog Q&A update on